Hi everyone, Mackane Vogel here at the Acres Eco Ag Conference and Trade Show. Welcome to Conservation Ag Update.
Conservation Ag Update is brought to you by CultivAce. Hey, welcome to the show. Noah Newman, Technology Editor here. Great to see you. So according to the 2024 No-Till Farmer Benchmark Study, almost 90% of you plant corn in 30-inch rows. Well, Sparta, Wisconsin no-tiller Jim Leverich is among the other 10%. He no-tills corn in 20-inch rows with his Case IH 1245 planter, and he's been doing it for a long time. Let's find out why.
So even though we don't have small tires on the tractor, they're 18-inch tires, and the tread is probably 16 inches. And that way, the tires are all set up on the tractor such that the row is actually in between the tires, even though it looks like we're driving on the row, we're not. And so therefore, we're always conscious of that when we're planting, that we are not hopefully impacting that plant zone when we're planting. We also try to use low air tire pressure. We try to use tractors that are not overweighted, and try and be conscious of the compaction issues that could occur at planting. So we found a 5 to 7% yield increase consistently in our work. The last year I ran a trial was in 2005. There was 21 bushel advantage to 20-inch rows over 30-inch rows. We also found more advantage in the lighter soils than we did in the heavy soils. So we've stayed with 20-inch rows on our farm over the 30-inch rows because we feel that it's a definite economic advantage to us.
Interesting stuff there. Thanks, Jim. Winter's coming, which means it's time to make sure there aren't any gremlins lurking in your equipment. Clay Scott joins us from Precision Planting headquarters with one of the most important things that should be on your planter maintenance checklist.
You've heard this for the past, I don't know how many years, but the first thing to check is, are our opening discs big enough? So this one is about 14 5/8. I'm going to tell you that this disc is junk. So you're going to say, well, Clay, Precision Planting recommends that we change a John Deere disc at 14.5. And you'd be right. However, is this going to get you through the season? If you only put 30 row acres on a year into some, heavy conventional tilled ground or some light conventional tilled ground, this will probably get you by. But if you're doing 100 row acres into some heavy no-till ground with no colder, this is junk. This is not going to get you through a full year. So these are management decisions that we have to make right now that are going to affect our crop for this following year. This is just as important as your fertilizer, your fertilizer choices and your fertilizer inputs. I know that's something that's been heavy in a lot of our minds as of late, and this is really just as important.
And Clay will share more insights during a planter classroom at the No-Till Conference, January 7th through 10th in Louisville, Kentucky. Head to no-tillconference.com to sign up. Now let's check in with road warrior Mackane Vogel in Madison, Wisconsin. Mackane, take it away.
Thanks, Noah. Mackane Vogel here at the Acres Eco Ag Conference and Trade Show in Madison, Wisconsin. And for this week's segment, we're going to toss it off to Gary Zimmer to talk a little bit about his cover crop strategies.
You have to earn the right. And this is the dilemma. That sustainable conference they had up in Minneapolis a couple weeks ago, 1,000 people showing up. All the food companies there, they want all their food being regenerative and sustainably grown. There was a panel with a farmer on it. And the farmer said, that's fine, I'll grow your cover crop, but someone's going to write me a check for $53 an acre. I'm not doing it. That's what it cost him, he said, to do it. What is he missing? He doesn't know how to make money growing a cover crop. If I grow that cover crop, I got to earn the right. I can use my insecticides, fungicides, pesticides. I can honestly say on our farm for 25 years, we used to have dairy, now we're cash croppers. I've never seen the need for an insecticide or a fungicide. Tar spot wiped out my neighbor's corn a couple years ago. We couldn't find any on our fields. We're across the fence. It couldn't be that he couldn't find. So I've never seen the need for those pesticides. But if you're a farmer and all of a sudden you grow a cover crop, what do you do next year? I cut my nitrogen. I cut my chemicals. Try to give myself more resilience. It might take some time, but they do not know, they have never been taught how to get from A to B, and that's your struggle. That's the struggle with agriculture, and I fight all the time. How do I earn that right? to less plant protection? How do I earn the right to feed less grain to cattle? How do I earn the right not to spend all this money on stuff that do not make my farm any better?
Always good stuff from Gary Zimmer, and there's been lots more good content here at the conference, so stay tuned in the coming weeks for lots more. Until next week, I'm Mackane Vogel. Back to you, Noah.
Good stuff as always. Thanks, Mackane. Moving on, I've heard some people call biologicals the Wild West of farming. Huge potential, little regulation. How do you know which products could work on your farm? Soil health specialist Jim Horman helps navigate some of the key factors to consider with biologicals.
Farmers need to understand the different functions. So, we got mycorrhizal fungi. There's like 250 of those. There's maybe 34 to 35 that I know of that infect corn, and about 30 some that infect soybeans. So the hardest part with biologicals is you have to know what you're starting out with, and then you got to figure out what you need, and then where do you get them? And none of those are easy. They're all expensive. So that makes it a little bit tough. But, for example, we've got fungus, we've got bacteria. We've got the rhizobacteria. A lot of people talk about them, but something most people haven't learned a whole lot about is the Pseudomonas. And those Pseudomonas are the ones that are involved in rhizophagy. And so if you've got those Pseudomonas bacteria in your soil, which most of us do, they're kind of like a double-edged sword, though. Some of them, under the right conditions, they really help the crop to grow, but under bad conditions, they cause a lot of disease. So you got to have the right soil in order to make all those work.
Just scratching the surface there, Jim will have much more during his presentation at the upcoming No-Till Conference. Speaking of conferences, the Sustainable Agriculture Summit took place in Minneapolis recently. And during the event, our Mike Lessiter caught up with Carrie Vollmer Sanders, the president of Field to Market, who also farms in Northeast Indiana and Northwest Ohio. She explains why it's important for no-tillers and strip-tillers to share their knowledge with other farmers.
One of the things that we have talked about at this meeting is the importance of no-till and cover crops and strip-tillage. And we don't often get a huge influx of farmers in front of these groups, but it's one of the beauties of Field to Market and the Sustainable Ag Summit is we want to make sure that those farmers have as large a voice as possible when they're in the room so that they can explain what's happening on the farm. So when a company sets goals, when a company is trying to figure out what to do next, they have a resource that has practical experience. And we really need more farmers with the experience with cover crops, strip-till, no-till, to be able to talk about their experiences, not only with other farmers, but also with companies throughout the value chain.
I know a guy who's always willing to talk about his experiences. Leedy, Oklahoma no-tiller Jimmy Emmons. In our video of the week, Jimmy shows us how one of his long-term no-till fields held up after getting pounded by rain.
This year at the National No-Till Conference, I'm going to be talking about understanding soil and soil structure. You see behind me here, this was a milo or grain sorghum field that we harvested earlier this year and turned around and planted wheat back into that after a rain. We just received 4 inches of rain the last 2 days here. If you can look around here, this is about a 200-acre field. There's no standing water or no runoff water in this field. It's had a living continuous root now for about 10 years with no-till. Making effective rainfall is the goal.
And that'll wrap things up. Got a story idea? Shoot me an email at innewman@lessitermedia.com. And before we go, I want to tell you about this special Frank Lessiter koozie. You should pick one up at our merchandise store for the holidays and make a great gift. Frank Lessiter koozie. It's got his face on it. And I hope you have a great week, as we'll see you for our next episode, December 20th. Here's the link to the merchandise store. Check it out.